At the beginning of this story, we are shown a strange crematorium, where suddenly the door bursts open and a black man comes crawling out across the ground. He's clutching a letter in his hand, even though his hands and legs were both tied up, making it impossible for him to walk or even stand properly. Yet, despite all that, he struggles and somehow manages to shove the letter into the postbox with his own hand. Bro was determined like it was the finals of the Olympics of struggle. Just then, a man appears from behind, tries to stop him, hits him, and the scene cuts right there. After that, we're shown a post office scene, a time when phones weren't common, and people actually had to communicate through letters like it was the Stone Age. Inside, we see two ladies talking at the office, busy correcting the spelling mistakes and address errors in letters. Then, one of them spots a box with a misspelled address and asks Anne about it while opening it up. Right away, she guesses that the box must belong to Mac. She asks, "Did I stop Jasper's work from progressing?" Girl acted like she just accidentally unplugged the life support of someone's entire career. Then, another paper lands in Bess's hands, this one splattered with blood, helplines written on it, and a list of some names. But Bess says it should only be shown to Jasper. At Anne's request, she puts the paper aside where, of course, it's chilling next to a lost necklace that magically appears along with it. Because apparently this post office is half USPS, half Scooby-Doo mystery van. Seeing this, both women finally decide to head to Jasper's office. An officer outside opens the gate for them. We noticed that back then the gates were super fancy, and the security was impressively tight, not like today where a paperclip and a confident attitude can get you anywhere. The key to the door was only with Jasper and the security guards. Bess starts moving forward, but the officer, looking like he just caught someone stealing cookies, angrily tries to stop her and shuts the door behind her himself. Here, we meet Jasper for the first time. Bess wastes no time and straight up asks whether this is black magic or not. Hearing this, Jasper laughs and flips through a guidebook like he's trying to find black magic for dummies. Imagine someone asking if it's dark magic and your first reaction is to pull out a manual that's red flag behavior right there. Seeing the circus, Bess starts leaving, but Jasper calls Anne to fix the Xerox machine. Meanwhile, the officer glares at him like he just ordered pineapple pizza. Jasper reassures the guy that it'll only take a minute before he strolls over and stands at the door. While Anne is fixing the Xerox machine, she and Jasper chat casually. During the conversation, they sneak out the necklace, its cover, and that bloody note, making photocopies of them. Jasper then mentions to Anne that a new roommate will soon replace his old one who had left, and Anne gets super excited for him. Anne acting like he just announced he's getting married instead of a roommate who might eat all his cereal. Jasper's friend is apparently a secret agent. When Anne asks about him, Jasper completely dodges the question and changes the subject faster than a politician at a debate. Meanwhile, the cranky officer outside reminds Anne it's time for her to leave. Anne says bye and heads out. As soon as Anne leaves, Jasper finally opens the letter that came with the necklace. It turns out to be a letter from a girl to her dad, where she had described her trip there. While reading it, Jasper Rader starts circling all the spelling mistakes, because nothing screams urgent investigation like grammar correction under mortal danger, and checks the books for the places she mentioned. Then Jasper calls the post office to check if any parcel was sent on the 22nd. The person at the other end confirms that a parcel had indeed been sent from their location. Next, Jasper calls his investor partner, who turns out to be Renee. In front of Renee's official office, there's a sunglasses shop, but behind that is her real secret investment office. Because nothing screams trustworthy investments like a sketchy office behind a sunglass stand. When Jasper calls, Renee is busy trying to sell sunglasses to a customer who clearly doesn't understand anything. Frustrated, Renee ends up cussing the poor customer out and kicking him out of the store. Only then does she pick up Jasper's call. Jasper tasks her with finding an address. Renee, acting like she's been waiting her whole life for this spy moment, immediately sends him a list of names and addresses. After a few more calls and detective moves, Jasper manages to track down the owner of the necklace. When he tells the woman on the other end that he has her necklace, she becomes incredibly happy. Because nothing says trust a stranger like a random dude calling you about your missing jewelry. Jasper talks about returning the necklace, for which the lady thanks him with a big smile. After that, Jasper writes a number down and places it inside the box along with the necklace. The box was part of the stuff scheduled to be shipped out. While leaving, he spots that bloody note again and without thinking twice, chucks it straight into the trash can. Because nothing says responsible adult, like tossing potential murder evidence like yesterday's Taco Bell receipt. But after stepping outside the building, Jasper suddenly has second thoughts and rushes back in. Digging the wrapper of that note out of the trash and taking it home with him, Jasper actually lives in a hollow communication house, a fancy high-tech pad that the government gave him. Bro, really living like a futuristic hermit sponsored by taxpayers. Once he gets to his room, he starts making a mini skeleton because, that's just what you do after finding a bloody note. While coloring the skeleton, he accidentally drops a single red drop on the floor. Seeing it, Jasper gets an idea and makes the color even darker. Then, like some kind of mad scientist, he pulls a pin off the wall, pricks his own finger, and adds some real blood next to the dark red. After waiting a while for it to dry, he picks up the same bloody note and matches the two colors side by side, and to his shock, both results looked exactly the same. CSI would be jealous of this man and his Dollar Tree lab. That night, Jasper takes a shower and starts doing his hair. But suddenly, an old man shows up beside him and casually says hi, because nothing is more relaxing than strangers pulling up mid-shampoo like it's a public pool. Jasper asks him if he's found a room yet, but the old man says no. Hearing this, Jasper decides to bring the old guy into his room. The old man looks around, super excited, because he had actually suffered a massive business loss and had nowhere else to go. After thanking Jasper, they both settle down and go to sleep. The next morning, Jasper grabs that bloody note and heads for his office. When he tries to open the door, he realizes the key is missing. Using the officer's keys, he manages to get in, and while inside, he tells the officers they should probably change the lock. Bro realized too late that anyone with a coat hanger could have robbed him blind. Back in the office, Jasper examines the address written on the note. When he can't figure it out, he calls Renee for help. Jasper tells him about the old address scribbled on the paper, but Renee, being Mr. Efficiency, asks him to just write down the number. Just as Jasper starts writing, a man walks in. Jasper spots him and immediately asks, "What are you doing here?" But the man doesn't answer. Instead, he straight up socks Jasper right in the face and storms over to the phone to start questioning Renee about him. Renee, of course, does the most loyal thing possible, cuts the call without saying a word. Real ones know. When your friend dips mid-911 call, you're on your own, champ. The man then starts rummaging through Jasper's stuff, stealing a pair of shoes, accidentally grabbing the necklace too. And before leaving, he does something even worse. He whips off his belt and brutally snaps Jasper's neck, killing him right there and taking whatever little life Jasper had left. Imagine dying because someone couldn't just steal your wallet like a normal person. Now, up to this point, friends, the story looked like a simple post office adventure. But what's about to happen next will leave you speechless. The man opens a door and places that same bloody note with the black man. Yes, the very same black man we saw at the beginning, crawling out of the crematorium with the letter. From here, the story shifts into the past. The old man's name was Trent. Trent was actually trying to revolutionize musical instruments, believing he was the next Beethoven with a business plan. He even attended an auction for musical instruments, where many people were showing off their talents. That's when he spotted the same black man again, whose name was Josh. Josh plays a radio for a moment, then switches it off and starts playing the piano with his hands. He asks the crowd, "Which one do you think is real?" Hearing his question, the people standing around give all the wrong answers. But Trent steps forward and shows them how he figured out the real stuff. Because Trent was built different, or at least he thought he was. After that, Trent strikes up a conversation with Josh. Josh explains that it's actually a new type of Japanese instrument he built, one that produces sound in unique ways. Trent listens carefully and asks Josh to work with him. Josh agrees. Poor guy had no idea he was signing up for a ride straight into chaos. Bro thought he was getting a LinkedIn endorsement, not a lifetime subscription to disaster. In the next scene, we see Trent back at his house, blasting music through speakers. The speaker wires trail all the way into the bathroom for some reason. Because when you're eccentric, basic home safety is just optional. While jamming out, Trent notices someone arriving outside to deliver his parcel. He gets excited like a kid on Christmas morning and rushes to bring the parcel straight to Josh. Josh plays a melody on his piano for her. Hearing it, Trent lights up with happiness. After chatting for a while, Trent leaves and heads back home. where he starts digging into some ice cream from the basement fridge, because nothing screams responsible adult like eating sad boy ice cream alone in a basement. At the same time, he also starts trying to learn piano by watching TV. Meanwhile, Josh calls him up and asks him to listen to his new track. But before Trent can enjoy it, a rat invades Josh's room, and Josh tries to scare it away by making the weirdest noises imaginable. Bro sounded less like a musician and more like someone losing a wrestling match with a ghost. Hearing all the racket, Trent gets annoyed and tells Josh about some returns, laughing and asking him to reply again. Trent then starts flipping through an old photo album where he finds a photo of the black man. He runs his hand over the picture like some dramatic movie scene. Someone get this man a tissue and a reality check. The next morning, Josh, calls Trent and asks him to come over. But Trent, being peak paranoid, also brings rat poison with him. Because why just visit when you can come armed like a Looney Tunes villain? George asks Trent for help, and here we learn that Trent is actually very close to her. After she leaves, George starts recording his work, while Trent cooks dinner for him like a clingy roommate who didn't get the memo. But when George refuses the meal, Trent gets seriously butthurt about it. The next day, George receives a parcel. Seeing it, he gets extremely happy and leaves it on the side while he goes to take a bath. Trent watches him leave and then slyly asks him, "Why didn't you tell me we could work on this project together?" George responds that he just found out, but it had always been his dream. Hearing this, Trent storms off like a salty ex-boyfriend and heads to his basement, where he sulks and drowns his feelings in ice cream again. At this point, the real addiction isn't music, it's dairy. While stewing in his feelings, a devilish idea pops into Trent's mind. Meanwhile, Josh is busy packing his things. After a while, he heads to the garage to pick up his model only to discover it's missing. When Josh asks about it, Trent tells him to come with him. And trusting him like a fool, Josh follows. Bro really followed a man who radiates kidnapper energy, survival instincts 0. Trent brings him to the basement, where all of Josh's belongings, including his precious piano, are already set up. Josh beams with happiness and thanks Trent for moving everything. But it's too late now, Josh says. "I have to go." But Trent, lurking nearby, overhears him and sneaks away. Josh quickly tries to follow him, but finds that the basement door won't open. George calls out loudly to Trent, but eventually sits down, exhausted. Turns out Trent had designed the basement specifically so that sounds from upstairs could travel down, but not the other way around. Congratulations, you've been trapped inside an introvert's soundproof man cave. As Josh sits there, a tinkling sound comes from near the table. He goes to check it out only to hear Trent telling him that he shouldn't have done this. "We were working on something together," Trent says ominously. "And now you're going to stay here and finish it." Josh begs him to let him out, but Trent isn't having it. Days pass, and Josh is still trapped in the basement. Trent visits him occasionally, bringing food and seeing him lying there pitifully. He starts talking like he's delivering a TED Talk on trauma. Trent shares how, back when he was in university, he loved music too. He tells a story about a boy he used to play music with until one day, that boy left him. Trent says he tried to stop him, but the boy left anyway. And then, Trent says dramatically, "I heard you." Hearing Josh play piano had made Trent feel alive again. But now it's your turn. Trent says, "You need to get up and work." Josh lies there silently, and for a while, there's nothing. Then Trent hears some noise, and when he checks, he sees Josh back to work. Trent beams with pride. Nothing like a little light kidnapping to bring out someone's productivity, right? But Josh had other plans. While Trent eventually falls asleep, Josh quietly sets the basement door lock on fire. Bro turned an escape room into a literal fire hazard. Unfortunately, the fire alarm wakes Trent up. He bolts downstairs, only to find Josh lying unconscious, but the entire basement is now in flames. Trent had locked George inside the bathroom. Through the speaker, he told George, "You've disappointed me." "But now," Trent said coldly, "you'll have to stay there until I fix the basement." He then went downstairs to start repairs while George tried desperately to free himself as soon as Trent left. Honestly, George's life had turned into one long episode of extreme home imprisonment. As soon as Trent arrived back, some music started playing, which made Josh snap to attention and sit down like nothing had happened. Bro pulled the most suspicious, nothing to see here act of all time. One day, while Trent went out to get something, Josh used all his strength to try and free himself. Finally, the chain broke, and he crawled out of the bathroom like a soldier escaping from a war zone. Desperate, he scribbled help on a pen and tissue. Because when you're fighting for your life, obviously your first weapon is a tissue note. But the next time Trent arrived, he knocked George out cold with a hit to the head. He dragged him back to the bathroom, tied him up again, and for good measure, glued his hands together too. Trent's motto: why just kidnap when you can arts and crafts someone into submission? After that, Trent headed off to open the post office, but the postbox wasn't opening at all. He went inside to get some supplies, but just then, the postman arrived and took all the mail with him. Seeing this, Trent freaked out and, panicking, immediately called the post office. They told him to come back in the morning. The next day, he rushed into the post office, desperate. There, he told West that he had accidentally sent a letter he needed back. West, being chill, told him not to worry at all, saying, "The gem of our office is Jasper. He figures everything out." Yeah, because nothing screams trusted employee like relying on a guy who barely survived office coffee. After that, Bess spotted Trent, and that's when we flash back to see Jasper walking out of the office with the letter. This was the moment when Trent started stalking Jasper. Turns out it was Trent who snuck into Jasper's room at night and stole his keys. When Jasper left the next morning, Trent followed him. And we all know what happened next. This absolutely worthless excuse for a human. Seriously, even villains in cartoons would be embarrassed. Killed Jasper, and not just that. He brutally murdered the officer, too. He even tied the officer's body to the door with his belt like he was decorating for the worst Halloween party ever. Before leaving, Trent picked up the letter and accidentally snagged the necklace, too. To get rid of the necklace, this genius melted it into a tub of ice cream and dumped the box into the trash. Congratulations, now it's murder-flavored ice cream, perfect for ruining childhoods. Later, he showed the note to Josh and said, "You have no idea what I had to do to get this." And then, for good measure, he applied thinner to Josh's hands, causing him intense pain. Because clearly Trent thought, how can I be even more of a psychotic menace today? Meanwhile, back at the post office, Anne and Bess were heartbroken over Jasper's death. Anne, determined to find the killer, kept calling the police. A search was conducted at Jasper's office, and Anne remembered the bloody note that was found along with the necklace. The police, however, dismissed it, saying both men must have fought and killed each other. Wow, top-tier detective work. Eh? Probably killed each other, case closed. On the other side, Trent was examining the injuries on his bag because the officer, before dying, had jammed a drill into it like a final act of vengeance. Honestly, the bag probably deserved better friends. Meanwhile, Renee, realizing something was wrong, started calling numbers to find the real killer. Trent wasn't doing well. He was sick and couldn't even feed Josh properly anymore. At this point, even houseplants were getting better treatment than Josh. Renee then called Jasper's office. At that time, Vase and Jane were just leaving. Hearing the call, Anne rushed over and Renee started talking to her. He told Anne that someone else had been there during the murder. After hearing this, Renee urged her to find all the addresses connected to the case. Meanwhile, George's condition had worsened so badly that he was barely clinging to life. Renee told Anne that whoever the killer was, he had called George by someone else's name, meaning the killer already knew the victims personally. Anne went to Jasper's hotel to gather more information, but the hostel staff refused to give her his name or address. Frustrated, she pushed again to have the case reopened. Aban and Bess headed to the address Renee had given them. Meanwhile, Trent had cleaned out the basement completely, but he made sure to take extra good care of the piano. Because nothing says psychopath like deep cleaning a dungeon but lovingly dusting a piano. Now, following George's last wish, he started cooking chicken for him. At the same time, Anne searched the whole house, trying to find any evidence of George's death, but she couldn't find anything suspicious. Detective Anne doing God's work with absolutely zero results. Suddenly, there was a knock at the door, and Trent nearly had a heart attack when he saw Anne standing there. Thinking quickly, he invited her inside. But Bess, who was sitting in the car, protested and tried to keep her from entering. Anne stepped inside anyway and found the radio playing music composed by George himself. Trent, looking like a deer caught in headlights, sprinted down to the basement and grabbed a hammer off the table. Because nothing calms guests like your host charging you armed with a hammer. Anne was sitting down when the pen dropped from her hand. As she bent down to pick it up, she spotted the number tag from the necklace. Immediately, she understood something was wrong and tried to escape, but the door was locked. and there was no way out. Frantically, she ran through the house and ended up in Josh's room. Seeing Josh in that horrific state, she quickly rushed to help him, but Trent came outside immediately and caught her in the act. Instead of freaking out, Trent just stared at them and then he walked away. Bro had the energy of a guy losing an Uno game and rage-quitting life. Before leaving, he said, "Sorry," through the speaker, because clearly a casual sorry fixes kidnapping, torture, and attempted murder, right? And then he immediately bolted from the house. Finally, after so many horrifying days, Josh had escaped from that nightmare of a house. Meanwhile, we saw Trent again, this time in Josh's garage. He had brought the poisoned chicken with him, like some sick housewarming gift. But before doing anything else, he stopped and turned on the radio in front of him. Through it, he heard many voices, but it was actually an audio George had recorded earlier, using his piano. Listening to the recording, Trent began talking about his and George's supposed partnership. Hearing this, Trent suddenly grew sad and decided to sit there eating the poisoned chicken, because if you're going to ruin 3 lives, you might as well go out stuffing your face with deadly drumsticks. Friends, because of one foolish wish, Trent had destroyed the lives of 3 people, but he would never be able to forget what happened to him, and with that, the movie comes to an end. And that's the chaotic roller coaster of Trent. Basement Edition, where kidnapping, poisoned chicken, and questionable life choices come standard. If you enjoyed watching a man spiral from friendly neighbor to basement Bond villain faster than you can say, call 911, then smash that subscribe button like Trent smashing his last remaining brain cells. Don't forget to hit the like button too, or else Trent might show up at your house with a special dinner. And comment below, would you trust your neighbor with your piano keys, or even your Wi-Fi password after this? Catch you in the next one where hopefully nobody gets tied up in a basement again. No promises. Stay safe, stay subscribed, and remember, always check your basement before making new friends.